Yes,
In
sir.
fact, the topic which has been assigned to me is on tribal movement in post-colonial India. No matter, Profs, most of the teachers may have been actually researched on the tribal movement in the post-colonial era. However, it stimulates me to share a few observations in connection to the subject matter of tribal movement, country like India. When you're just offering to have Siridhanya and all, it indicates that you are going to become an original tribal. This is very essential in these days. However, we may have gone through some critical thoughts on the colonial mindsets as well. Of course, no matter, before the coming into force of the Constitution of India and UN Charter 1945 and their half century enactments, so most of the tribals were under the darker side. That we should understand from our own history as well. Looking into the perspectives on tribals, especially in the state of Karnataka, they could be Jenu Kurba, Kadu Kurba, Bettadu Kurba, Soligas, Yarava. They include even Siddhi, like Christian Siddhi, Hindu Siddhis, then Muslim Siddhis. As you've already been known that tribals have got more than 5,000 years of experience based on their culture and the civilization as well. And you can put a fundamental question here. What is all about civilization and the culture? Civilization means what we do is our civilization, what we for is our culture. Civilization and culture, they should go hand in hand. This is very important. We have to understand. However, we may have gone through lots of protections given to these tribals country like India. How best laws are helpful with you to overcome their issues and challenges. That's very important. You have to understand here and there. This is one thing. On the other hand, we have had our own constitution, lengthiest constitution in the world, which talks about even tribals who are highly marginalized, weaker, and retracted from the society. They are in border. You just visit Nagaravale, Bandipur, Bihar Hills, Joida, Ankola, even some parts of India, they include even Jharkhand and all. Even today, they are living in miserable conditions. They are unable to access minimum human necessities, food, clothes, shelter. This is very sad story I'm just sharing over here, especially in this online meeting as well. Anyway, first of all, we have to understand the problems of women and children as well. Of course, you have to have a look on even on philosophical foundations, which are highly essential. Just look into the Lao Tse and Confucius philosophy. They say that you should grow naturally, how plants and trees are growing. This is very essential. And you cannot be a stronger by exploiting others. All are equally footing. And nobody is actually superior or inferior. Like should be treated like, unlike should not be treated like. Equality before law and equal protection of law, they should go hand in hand. This is what you have already been known on the basis of Article 14. That could be read out with Article 21 of the Constitution of India as well. Just look into the Part 3rd and Part 4th of the Constitution, wherein They have outspoken on the basis of soft and hardcore legislations as well. When you deal with softcore and hardcore measures, this is all about academic work. So what they need support from the government. This is one of the responsibilities on the part of a state to look into the matter very seriously. This is one thing. On the other hand, especially in the post-colonial India, how exactly the movements are known for their vulnerability. So why people are actually knocking the doors of judiciary? They need justice. They have come here to seek justice. That's very important. You have to understand. When people have come for sharing their views, you have to listen them, first of all. So what kind of problems they do have? This is very important. So how, in what manner certain agencies have come for redressing the grievances of these people. This is very essential, sine qua non as well. On the other hand, looking into the perspectives on the basis of international law, of course, international law has also contributed a lot to shape the problems of these. This is very important, and how, in what manner you should overcome the problems of these what shall I say, tribals. Especially in 1989, we could find one of the good international covenant on the protection of tribal, 1989. This convention has given as many as inputs with a view to understand the people who are living in thick forest areas. This is very important. On the other hand, if you just look into the colonial mindsets, we were actually exposed indifferently. And moreover, if rather I would say, we were under the mercy of British, Portuguese, Dutch, and rest of them. They conquered us for many reasons. They divided us indifferently. This is a very serious issue. You have to think about it. Even today, if rather I would say, the most of the legislations in which you have passed from the parliament are all actually based on colonial mindsets that you should overcome. When you have gone through your constitution, you should understand the problems of these people. Simply, you are just relying on earlier history. Of course, history repeats. That's a different issue. This is what Herodotus said long ago, father of history. I agree with him. However, when you have gone through your Constitution of India, you should understand how people are living over here. If somebody is actually crying at home, mother should know why he or she is crying. This is one of the responsibilities on the part of a mother at home to look into the matter very seriously. It means that, if rather I would say, state should know everything. The entire civil society is responsible for these people. This is very serious issue, if rather I would say. Even in otherwise manner, as long as you are just dealing with this issue as well, much has been discussed. I think nothing is left out to me. However, when you are sitting here over here to share your views or to understand or to discuss the matter on the basis of root causes, this is highly essential. You have to think about the people who are living in the marginalized sections of the society or weaker sections of the society. This is one thing. And who are these people? You can put a fundamental question over here. Whether they are called as uncivilized, this is very serious issue. You have to question yourself. The people who are living in thick forest area to be called as if uncivilized? It's a fundamental question. Okay. Then what kind of ready-made answer you have? So these are the major perennial, comprehensive or extensive questions may arise when you are just dealing with the colonial mindsets as well. This is one thing. Please refer FRA, Forest Rights Act, then Protection of Biological Diversity Act 2002. So all these legislations were passed by Parliament. I agree with them. However, we need to have some reformations in these legislations as well. Most of the legislation in which you have gone through them are all actually based on colonial mindsets that you should work on. See, first of all, you have to understand the Constitution of India. Understanding Constitution is not so simple. It requires a lot of drill. And you are just referring into the preamble. That's not sufficient. You have to go beyond that. You have to go beyond that. That's very important. Look into Article 21 of the Constitution of India, wherein it has outspoken on right to life. That itself is called as a primordial right, without which other rights cannot be enjoyable. This is what I have known, personally speaking. Seriously speaking, looking into the perspectives on the cases decided by Honorable High Courts and Supreme Court, especially Terrace Projects case, Narmada Bachao Andolan's case, and rest of them. What did you do in connection to these issues and challenges as well? And how best you have managed them? And where exactly you have damaged the life of these people? That's very important. You have to understand. And most of the time, as you already been known, in absence of specific legislations, states are in fact relying on reports submitted by various experts. Share. Yeah. I must share with you, in absence of specific legislations, states are relying on reports submitted by various experts. Have a look on Madhava Gadgil's report, Kasturi Rangan's report, and Oman Chandi's report. It's a mockery country like India, if rather I would say. When Madhava Gadgil report came in, of course, he was giving more importance to human environment. When human environment was successful, the people who came from dollars, they raised their objections at the higher level because they wanted to invest in thick forest areas. Therefore, the capitalistic movement was responsible to move towards, certain issues and challenges as well, with a view to create a synergy between Madhava Gadgil's report and Kasturi Rangan report. So Oman Chandi's report came in. So these are the reports which are in fact responsible for understanding the problems of a tribals country like India. This is a very serious issue you have to think about. I have given you one of the illustrations over here. Wolf is actually standing before sheep, demanding, I have a right to food, I want to kill you. Then sheep replied politely, my friend wolf, however you might have got right to food, I have a right to life, you cannot kill me. How critical is it with you to understand the people who are living in thick forest area? Would you call them as if uncivilized? And the people who are living in city areas to be called them as civilized? So these are the fundamental questions that shall be asked. Just look into the preamble of UN Charter 1945, wherein it has outspoken on the basis of human values. It starts with we the people of United Nations determined to save the succeeding generation from the scourge of war, which is untold sorrow, which that cannot be explained once again, seriously speaking. And it urges that there shall be mutual coexistence and cooperation for promoting and encouraging human rights and fundamental freedoms without distinction with the race, sex, language, and the religion as well. Why I'm just sharing all these examples? You are sitting here because of UNO. However, you may have gone through some criticisms leveled against United Nations organization, UNO, and its half-century enactments are all actually helpful to mankind as a whole. So in this way, anyway, the moment when you are just dealing with the tribal issues at the global level, much has been discussed. Even General Assembly and the Security Council, they have been actually keep working for the survival of these tribals all over the world, not only in India, cutting across the world. This is what one could understand. Why I'm just sharing all these examples, you know why? So we have to understand the role of international law in the protection of the human rights of tribals who are living in marginalized situations or weaker situations as well. So in this way, of course, no matter mm, uh, much has been discussed on the issue of the tribalism all over the world. Anyway, when you are dealing with these moments, I have got my own hypothetical answers. I'm just sharing over here. When you are close to high temperature, high fertility will come. When you got high fertility, population will be increased. When you got population, problems are many. So I have given you in this way on the basis of US, Euro, and Asia Afro-centric approaches, especially in Asia and African-centric approaches. Many issues and challenges are remained even today. We need solution rather than just understanding on the basis of the research as well. It could be quantitative research, qualitative research, doctrinal or non-doctrinal, in which you have gone through, or hill climbing research or waterfall research, deductive or inductive research. We don't want. We need to have some solutions. We need to have some reformations in the society. We have to overcome the problems of the tribals. That's very important from the point of view of understanding colonial mindsets. During colonialism, people were under the mercy of others, isn't it? And you know very well, or better than me, you may say charity begins at home. I must say charity, to say that the violence begins at home. How do you overcome violence? How do you overcome? Where exactly you can find solutions to overcome? Why people are knocking the doors of judiciary? Why people they're raising their hands? They need justice. Either it could be distributive justice or corrective of justice. This is what Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, who have outspoken on the basis of a corrective and distributive justice as well. In a silver linings, even in otherwise manner, John Rawls, who could explain on the basis of theory of justice, was also referred on the basis of a distributive or corrective of justice. What kind of distributive or corrective of justice you have in the society? Why people are knocking the doors of judiciary? See, access to justice is one among human rights. Poverty, that itself is violation of human rights. This is what many scholars have outspoken at the higher level as well. Seriously speaking, you have to understand in this way. On the other hand, you have to balance law and justice. Your law looks as if crude oil, whereas justice is a refined oil, less cholesterol. Please remember, you have to understand a synergy between law and justice. They should go hand in hand. There shall not be, contrary and contradictory meaning between law and justice. This is very serious issue, if rather I would say. This is one thing. On the other hand, you have to give voice to the voiceless, eyes to the eyesless, remedies to the remediless. That is our concern. We are sitting here with a view to understand obligations towards others. That is the dharma. Dharma, rakshiti rakshita. What does it mean? If you respect dharma, dharma will respect you. I respect your truth, please respect my truth. That is the strength. Respect others. They are also human beings. They are not in fact uncivilized. Please remember and make a note of it. The people who are living in thick forest area are not supposed to be called as uncivilized. They are also civilized. So without understanding these parameters, whatever you are going to say on tribalism would be incomplete. Therefore, I'm just urging all of you to have a look on very seriously, conduct some serious research on these issues and challenges as well, whenever you are finding some opportunities in your educational institutions as well. This is one thing I would like to share with you. On the other hand, so laws are also divided into several perspectives and the ideologies. Everybody knows it depends on the situations as well. However, we may have had some critical thoughts on the subject matter. We need to understand all these issues and challenges based on humanity. Humanity has to be called and looked into. When we had civil war in America, one fine day, Abraham Lincoln called Lieber, can you just draft a code on civil war? Then he said, yes, sir, I'll codify the law of war. So in this Lieber code, he has outspoken on the protection of cultural property. What is cultural property? Cultural property is always based on aesthetic value, love of art. Once you have lost your cultural property, the entire society will be collapsed. Seriously speaking, in the name of good things, we have killed many. In the name of good things, we have killed many. That's there in history. Looking into the perspectives on national movement or understanding the national feelings, we have killed many. This is very serious issue. This is one thing. On the other hand, especially in India, your food has become a religious issue. Why? why food has become a religious issue. What happened to you? And why are relying on a new constitution, country like India? The what kind of perceptions and ideologies you have now? Which constitution you would like to have? There is no clarity. What kind of constitution you want to have now? Please remember, first of all, you have to understand the crux of the subject matter as well. So without understanding the pillars of the constitution or columns of the constitution, whatever you are going to say would be incomplete. Therefore, I am just insisting you to have a look on constitution thoroughly. This is one thing. On the other hand, understanding the constitution is not so simple. It requires a lot of drill. Constitution is not at all a drama, a novel, or a story. Constitution which talks about socio-economic and cultural issues and challenges that you should overcome. It's a very serious issue, if rather I would say. Please compare with other constitutions. Say, for example, American Constitution, Canadian Constitution, Swiss Constitution, French Constitution, and rest of them. So as compared to others, Indian Constitution has come out with many humanitarian ideological thinking. Just see the concept of social justice. Why social justice? How do you understand social justice? This is a very serious issue. Please have a look on some of the interesting cases decided by Honorable Supreme Court of India. They are highly notable. Even in otherwise manner, have a look on one of the interesting cases decided by Bombay High Court. Prakash Cotton Mills versus state of Maharashtra. In this particular case, Justice Chagla, who was one of the best friends of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who could share that without understanding the concept of social justice, law cannot be interpreted. Law is always based on social justice, please remember. Because people have come from little background. It is your duty to look into the matter very seriously. And it is one of the responsibilities on the part of a state. And you can put a fundamental question here. So what is all about state responsibility? This is what we have had our own draft articles on state responsibility for International Wrongful Act 2001, which were actually drafted by 5 special reporters of International Law Commission, should also be actually called for. Then you can put a fundamental question. What is state responsibility? If a state violates international obligations, then the state responsibility would come into picture. Why states are responsible? It's a fundamental question to be asked. This is what draft articles on state responsibility for international wrongful acts, which are giving you some inputs to understand the concept of state responsibility or the liability as well. So with these few remarks, of course, no matter, there are as many as visited circles. The moment when you are dealing with a tribal movement country like India. So which system is helpful to you? Whether communism is helpful, dictatorship is helpful, democracy is helpful, socialism is helpful, military is helpful. Which system you would like to have? And moreover, if rather I would say you are living in transition period. You are living in transition period, evergreen. It is keep changing every day and night. Today necessity is not tomorrow. You have to change the law based on the preponderant interest of a common man. That is very important from the point of view of understanding the colonial mindsets as well. Isn't it? When you have gone through your constitution, please understand the constitution and make a note of it and pass some legislations which are helpful to the people who are living in a darker side of the society, none other than tribals in India. This is very serious issue, if rather I would say. This is one thing. We need to understand peace in the society. What do you mean by peace? Peace, it does not mean it is an absence of war. Peace means presence of justice. It could be triple justice. I am stressing more on triple justice. Triple justice. Say, for example, economic justice, social justice, and political justice should be shared to the people who are left out in the society. That is very important. And you should know where exactly you have come from. Then only you will be appreciated. Where are you going? First of all, you have to understand your history. Go back early history like Harappa Mohenjo-daro's civilization, Indus Valley civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, Greek civilization, Egyptian civilization, all in all. You just go through them, understand how people were living. These are the things should be looked into when you are just dealing with these issues and challenges as well. Let me share with you, even in otherwise manner, many post-independence movements were actually a continuation of earlier anti-colonial struggles, addressing addressing issues like land alienation, forest rights, displacement caused by development projects. In India, we have had more than 7 lakh internally displaced persons. Who are these? Have they come from America? Have they come from European countries? Have they come from African countries? You have to question yourself. They are from your own place. Why are you sidelining them from the society as a whole? This one thing you have to understand. One of the statements given by Leo Tolstoy, he is actually recollecting me. He says, one of the first conditions of the happiness is to bridge the gap between man and nature. That shall not be broken. The relationship between man and nature shall not be broken. This is very essential with you to understand a synergy or legal chemistry between law and society, law and justice, and rest of them. You have to build a society in a better way. Otherwise, you are answerable to others. This is called as a kriya and karma. Kriya for yourself, karma for others. Please remember, the karma is always based on obligations towards others. It means where there is a right, there is a duty. Where there is a duty, there is a liability. This is what one should understand. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಹಕ್ಕು ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ, ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ. ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಟ್ರೈಬಲಿಸಮ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಬಂತು, ಯಾಕೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು, ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾಕೆ ಬಂತು? ನೀವು ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ, ನೀವು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಕ್ಸಲೇಟ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ನಾಗಾ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಮಣಿಪುರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಒಡಿಸ್ಸಾ. ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ ಟು ದೀಸ್ ಪೀಪಲ್? ವೈ these organizations came out with new approaches with you to overcome the problems of these tribals who are living in the border area. This is very serious issue. You have to think about their vulnerability as well. This is one thing I would like to share with you. On the other hand, you have to have a look on synergy between law and society. One of the scholars of America, he says that law is an instrument of social change. It may change from time to time as a science and technological development. You have to understand a classical relationship between law and social change. They should go hand in hand when you are dealing with the society and the law as well. And most of the time, laws are actually created on the basis of societies, that is societal interest. This is what Rousseau found when he was actually dealing with the sociological approach of who could share. Even in otherwise manner, Herbert Spencer, when he was actually dealing with the organic theory of a state, you could refer on the basis of a theory of organisms. So based on theory of organisms, you could share what was the duty of a state. Duty of a state is to look into the matter very seriously about the citizens as well. There are some references even in Kautilya's Arthashastra. What is the duty of a king? Duty of a king is to look into the matter in connection to individuals and their property. The citizen should be protected. His rights are supposed to be protected by whom? State. State has to protect the human rights or fundamental freedoms of these people. A state shall not be a violator of human rights or fundamental rights as well. Any gross violation of fundamental rights under Part 3 of the Constitution of India, we can move to Supreme Court and the High Court as well. Under Article 226 and 227, we will be moving to High Courts. Under 32, we will be moving to the Supreme Court of India as well by filing writ petitions, certiorari, mandamus, prohibition, habeas corpus, co-warrant. So all these remedies are helpful to these movements as well. Please remember, this is one thing I would like to share with you. On the other hand, as long as you are dealing with the land and resource rights, a central theme was the fight to protect tribal lands and resources from encroachment by outsiders, including the state, private companies, and other powerful groups as well. You go and ask some questions to these people who are living in thick forest area. What they say? They say that the entire forest land is actually protected by them because of some mega projects issued by state and central government. They may be displacing from one place to another place as well. Seriously speaking, no rehabilitation has been made so far till now. This is one thing I would like to share with you. On the other hand, when you could place a bill before Parliament in 2005, it was unsuccessful. Why this bill was actually unsuccessful? Country like India. Was it to be called as a political bill? This is a serious question shall be asked to the like-minded people, country like India. Moreover, if rather I would say, except Article 21 of Indian Constitution, no law is there with you to understand internally displaced persons as well. Fortunately, Francis Deng was actually appointed by Secretary General of United Nations long ago. He roamed many places. Places in the sense that many countries, with a view to understand internally displaced persons as well. He could draft guiding principles on the protection of internally displaced persons as well. Except these guiding principles, no law is there with a view to help internally displaced persons as well. Why I'm just sharing all these examples, there is a relevance from the standpoint. When states are actually started asking them to leave their places, they left their places, living somewhere. This is really vulnerable. Please visit some places, especially in Karnataka. You will be known how exactly tribals are actually displaced because of many reasons as well. In the name of good things, you have killed many, like India. This is very serious issue. You have to understand. On the other hand, as long as you are dealing with economic exploitations, tribal communities continue to face economic exploitations through unfair labor practices, low wages, and indebtedness, and leading to various forms of protest. This is one thing. On the other hand, just to see the preservation of culture, many movements aim to preserve tribal languages, traditions, and the social structures, resisting cultural assimilation and the imposition of mainstream values as well. And you know the fact very clear. When we could draft the Constitution of India, we had 75 languages. Primitive languages. Now we have 50 primitive languages. What happened to 25 primitive languages? We have lost them. Nobody is actually speaking in these languages as well. There is a lot of scope to give more importance to other languages. Now, Bharatiya Bhasha Samiti is actually thinking of to have the original languages of these people as well. History is actually repeating now. This is very serious issue. If rather I would, when you're just dealing with the languages of these tribals as well. So I'm just sharing, when we were drafting the Constitution of India, we had 75 primitive languages. You have lost 25 languages. Now you have, to say 50 languages are actually remained. What happened to 25 languages? We have lost them. And you are answerable. I mean to say, the entire civil society is responsible to pay for it. All are responsible, if rather I would say. Okay, what is culture? What we for is our culture. What is civilization? What we do is our civilization. You have to understand the civilization and the culture as well. And moreover, if rather I would say, the demand for self-governance is also one of the major reasons for tribal movements, country like India. Some movements advocated for greater autonomy and self-governance for tribal areas, reflecting a desire for control over their own affairs. They are also human beings like you. Don't call them as if uncivilized. You are also civilized. They are also civilized. You have to understand what is all about civilization as well. Look into a definition given by United Nations system. has been actually interpreting on the basis of humanity or dictate of public conscience. You have to understand dictate of public conscience and the humanity as well. In absence of specific legislations or the courts, obviously, if rather I would say humanity and the dictate of public conscience, they should prevail. So without understanding humanity and the dictate of public conscience, whatever you are going to say on tribal movement, country like India would be incomplete. This is what I wanted to share with you. On the other hand, the preservation of tribal identity and the culture. How will you identify the tribalism? Especially country like India, most of them may have known about the problems, especially in the state of Karnataka, as I have already been referred in, especially Soligas, Yarava, Jenukurba, Kadukurba, then Hakipiki. You just see them. What kind of identity they do have? How exactly you are going to identify them? You are just, looking them indifferently. Go to some places, please visit Bandipur, Nagaravale, then BRLs. They are highly marginalized even today. They are not accessible to have some minimum necessities. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಆಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎಸ್ 2011 ಸೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್, ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ನಾವೇನು ಸಮೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಲ್ಲ ಅದ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಮೋರ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ 6,50,000 villages country like India. That's why India is to be called as if Gramya Bharata. ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಭಾರತ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಗ್ರಾಮ್ಯ ಭಾರತ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಹೀಗೆಲ್ಲ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಕಾರಣ ಏನು? ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅವಕಾಶಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸವಾಲುಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸವಾಲುಗಳು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟಿದೆ. ಯಾವ ಸವಾಲುಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ? ಅವನತಿಯ ಹಾದಿಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ರೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾನೂನು ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಹಕ್ಕುಗಳನ್ನ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಸ್ವೀಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಏನು? ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಬರಲೇಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥನೇ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ ದ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್, ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಇನ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಟು ದಿ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರೈಬಲ್ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಟಿ ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಕಲ್ಚರ್. ನಾವೆಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ? ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಪ್ರದಾಯನೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ಸೆಡ್. ಐ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಯುವರ್ truth, please respect my truth. That is the strength. So without understanding the duties towards others, of course there's a dharma or karma you have. One vows a duty towards others. If X happens, then Y ought to happen. If X commits a crime, he should be prosecuted mercilessly. Kill one for the survival of others. This is what our own jurisprudence is actually teaching you. Just look into the various schools of thoughts have come in. They are within you. They could be positivism, American realism, Scandinavian realism, synthetic jurisprudence, sociological approach, economic approach, historical approach. All have given you some inputs to understand tribalisms. This is very serious issue. You have to understand. Without understanding the basics of the law, whatever you are going to say on justice would be incomplete. So that's why I'm requesting all of you to have a look on seriously, at least to understand the problems of the people who are living in miserable conditions. Let me share with you, ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ಬಂಡೀಪುರ, ನಾಗರಹೊಳೆ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ 2020 ಸೈಟು ಇಲ್ಲ ಪಾಪ ಅವರಿಗೆ. ನೋ ರಿಹ್ಯಾಬಿಲಿಟೇಷನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಸೋ ಫಾರ್. ಅವ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು? ಈ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ನವರು, ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಇಲಾಖೆಯವರು, ಈ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ. They are in border level. If rather I would say, please visit Baswanagiri Hadi and DB Kuppe. Even in Mastigudi, no rehabilitation has been made so far. Fortunately, they filed some applications before NHRC, National Human Rights Commission. They could find some solutions from them. That's all. Otherwise, problems would have been continued. So therefore, you have to understand from these perceptions as well. There are some examples of movements. Kindly have a look on Jharkhand movement, Naxalite movement, Naga movement, movements in Odisha, movements in Manipur as well. Why these movements? Why people are knocking the doors of judiciary? They need justice. They are not coming here. Which law is the supreme? They have come here to understand their vulnerability. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಸ್ಮಶಾನಗಳೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಕುಡಿಯೋ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಇಲ್ಲ, ರೋಡ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋವೇ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ. ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ನೆಸಿಟೀಸ್, if rather I would say. And how exactly you are going to understand the problems of these people as well? Of course, this long-standing movement sought a separate state for tribal population in Chota-Nagar region, emphasizing the distinct identity and aspirations for self-determination, especially in Jharkhand as well. Why Jharkhand movement? Jharkhand movement came out with new approaches with a view to understand the concept of self-determination. Perhaps many scholars who have come from political science may have been known what you mean by self-determination. If rather I would say, self-determination is the right of the people to determine their own sovereignty. Then what is popular sovereignty over here? So how exactly popular sovereignty should be looked into, seriously speaking? Why Jharkhand tribals, they fought for independent state. They need to understand their identity. That's why Jharkhand movement came out with new approaches with a view to understand their issues and challenges as well. This long-standing movement sought a separate state for tribal populations, especially in the Chota-Nagar region, emphasizing their distinct identity and aspirations for self-determination as well. Let me share with you, based on my own understandings, these tribals have had more than 5,000 years of experiences. 5,000 years of experiences. And since then, they have been facing a lot of problems. That's a different issue. However, you have to overcome them based on some specific legislations. See the legislations passed by parliamentarian. We have a FRA, Forest Rights Act of 2006, and Protection of Biological Diversity Act of 2002. Biological Diversity Act is actually dealing with protection of plant varieties. They include biodiversity. And you know very well, the entire Western Ghats, which is surrounded by 6 states, and 46 districts, 146 talukas, which is known for habitats, known for creatures, known for biodiversity. Who's this responsibility to protect biodiversity? The entire civil society is responsible. Let me share with you. Travel to Western Ghats, you will be known. Western Ghats should be kept for aesthetic value. Aesthetic value in the sense that love of art. ನಿಮ್ಮ ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಘಾಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಘಾಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ. ದಂಧೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಘಾಟ್ಸ್ is known for biological diversity. You have to protect. Let me share with you on the basis of the role of international law in the protection of biological diversity all over the world. In 1992, we had a Rio de Janeiro summit. In this summit, two main conventions concluded at the international level. One is on International Covenant on Protection of Biological Diversity in 1992, then UNFCCC, United Nations Framework on Climate Change, 1992. These are the conventions came out with new approaches with a view to understand the resources available in our hands. On the other hand, in 2000, the Karnataka Declaration came out with new approaches. Why Karnataka Declaration came out with new approaches? There is a meaning in it. On the other hand, in 2010, Nagoya Protocol came in. Nagoya is a small place in Japan. In this place, few environmentalists, they sat together, decided to understand optimal utilization of natural resources or benefit sharing as well. So how do you understand benefit sharing and the optimal utilization of natural resources? Why I'm just sharing all these examples here? When you are dealing with these movements, there are as many as critical thoughts who have come to you with a view to understand the problems of these as well. Looking into the perspectives on protection and preservation of human environment. With a view to understand protection and preservation of human environment, seriously speaking, there are as many as theories have come in, principles have come in. Take for an example, it could be polluter pays principle, sustainable development, precautionary principle, benefit sharing, common but differentiated responsibility, harmony with nature, public trust doctrine. All these theories have come in. They are within you, no matter. Depending on your academic discussions, these principles may have come in. They are within you to understand the synergy between man and nature as well. And you know very well, better than me, seriously speaking, there are three conflicts in our society. Number one, a conflict with nature. The conflict with nature can be solutionized on the basis of science and technology. Solution can be found through science and technology. Through science and technology, you can overcome a conflict between man with other men. The second question would be on man with other men. Of course, politics will come and help you to overcome a classical conflict between man with other men. Last but not the least, you have got your own problem, I have got my own problem. How can I resolve my problem? How will you resolve your own problem? So through yoga, meditation, or spiritual activities, you can overcome. You go to any country of your choice, based on Eurocentric or US-centric or Asia-Afri-centric approaches. These common conflicts are remained even today. But you cannot keep the same problem for a long time. You have to have some solutions to overcome. This is very serious issue. If rather you would say when you are dealing with the rights of these tribals as well. Perhaps we may have gone through some of the statements given by J.S. Mill, wherein he could say, what is right all about? Most of the rights are always based on value of utility. Please remember. Even in otherwise manner, Karl von Savigny in Germany, Henry Maine in UK, they say that your rights have come on the basis of cultural variables. So based on cultural variables, rights are divided into several perceptions and the ideologies as well. And you can put a fundamental question here, as long as you are dealing with the tribalisms, vis-a-vis movements as well. What is right? I must share with you in a simple sentence. A right is nothing but it is an interest recognized and protected by law. These rights are supposed to be protected. Otherwise, they are called as moral rights. Moral rights have no basis usually. They are all actually based on some perceptions and the ideologies as well. Who will care for moral rights? Very few. People who have come from good background may follow moral rights. Others, they negate. This is what you have to understand. The recognition of rights, recognition of a law. Law has to be recognized. This is what H.L. Hart, perhaps you may have gone through philosophical foundations as emphasized by H.L. Hart. H.L. Hart said, law has to be recognized. There shall be minimum effectiveness. Then what kind of minimum effectiveness we have? This is very serious issue you have to understand. This is what H.L. Hart said long ago. Law has to be recognized. With a view to recognize a law, there shall be minimum effectiveness. This is what we are Krishna Iyer, when he was actually deciding some cases before Honorable Supreme Court of India, who could share that there shall be locomotion theory. What is locomotion theory? Locomotion theory is always based on notions in the society as a whole. How in what manner your rights are supposed to be protected and promoted. That's very important. Just to see the UN Charter 1945, protection of human rights nowhere defined. It is encouraging and promoting human rights and fundamental freedoms without distinction with race, sex, language, and the religion as well. Then who has to protect your right? Who has to protect my right? So seriously speaking, someone should come forward to help you. Based on movements, you can overcome problems of these as well. Looking into the perspectives on Naxalite movements, this Maoist inspired movement, which emerged in 1960, gained support among tribal communities in several states, driven by grievances related to landless, poverty, and the social injustice. Why Naxalite movements? ಯಾಕೆ ಅವರು ನಕ್ಸಲೇಟ್ ಆದ್ರು, ಟೆರರಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಯಾಕಾದ್ರು? You have to think about seriously. See the movement of Naga movement. Naga tribes in the northeast have been actually engaged in a protracted struggle for independence and greater autonomy, with some factions seeking complete separation from India. Separatism is quite common all over the history. Entire Bharata Khanda was actually divided into several pieces depending on religion, caste, color, greed, and such other thing. ನಾವು ದೇಶಗಳನ್ನೇ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಬಂದ್ವಿ. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ 2020 ಸೈಟಿಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕೋ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ವೇ. ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ವಸುದೈವ ಕುಟುಂಬಕಂ. ಏನಂಗಂದ್ರೆ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಬಿಲಾಂಗಿಂಗ್ ಟು single family. This is what we have to understand. What is all about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? How will you understand Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam here in, movements as well? This is one thing. Looking into the perspectives on movement in Odisha, tribal communities in Odisha participated in various movements for responsible government, state merger, and the protection of their rights as well. On the other hand, movements in Manipur, for example, the Kuki uprising and the movements in Manipur reflected a strong assertion of tribal independence and resistance to colonial and post-colonial incursions on their lands and autonomy as well. In simple question, you can ask why laws are favoring these tribals because of historical injustice and the practical denials. This is very serious issue. Even in otherwise manner, why laws are favoring women country like India? Why laws are favoring women country like India? Because of historical injustice and the practical denials. Similarly, there is no exception to tribals country like India. So with these a few aspects, if rather I would say tribal movements in post-colonial India have had a significant impact on policy and the legislation related to tribal affairs, including the recognition of tribal rights and provisions for self-governance in tribal areas and affirmative action policies as well. Just to see affirmative action. The concept of affirmative action is nowhere defined under the Constitution of India. This word is actually derived from American Constitution. Please remember. Affirmative action in United States of America, positive discrimination in UK, reservation and quota in India, they are from the same roots. Please remember. Isn't it? Even in America, you can find tribals, especially in Alaska. So Alaska natives are also living over there. It is one of the responsibilities on the part of USA to protect their interests as well. So therefore, tribals are there everywhere, not only in India, cutting across the world. Just to see the African continent, you may be known how tribals are living in a miserable conditions. Similarly, in India. Therefore, these movements are highly helpful to overcome the problems of tribals country like India as well. So with these a few aspects, of course, no matter seriously speaking, especially in post colonial era, we had taken higher notions with a view to understand the problems of these tribals country like India as well. This is one thing. On the other hand, especially in Karnataka, if rather I would say, perhaps many of you have actually gone through the problems of tribals in Karnataka. They are living in miserable conditions. This is the right time to protect, promote, and encourage the rights of these people as well. So with these few aspects, I take this opportunity to thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to share a few words about the tribal movements, especially post-colonial era as well. Because there is a lot of things to be learned, especially from the perspective of tribalisms, country like India. It takes time. Of course, please read the constitution thoroughly. Then you will be known how exactly you are going to understand others as well, isn't it? First of all, you have to understand your neighbor. No matter many people may have said that your neighbor may not be your neighbor may not be a friend. Your neighbor may be a good friend. That's a different issue. However, you have to understand your neighbor as well. I mean to say that the people who are living in tribal hordis should be respected, should be known. Uh, you have to understand their vulnerability, isn't it? As no education has been given to them even today, and you have taken their autonomy. This is one thing. This is very serious issue, and nobody is actually interested to go to their places to worship their god and goddesses. And you talk many things on freedom of you know right to freedom of religion and all. How exactly Article 25 of the Constitution of India will be helpful to these people? Even today, they are unable to worship their goddesses. This is very serious issue. Country like India, you have to give an opportunity for them to understand the rights which are guaranteed under Part Third and Part Fourth of the Constitution of India. This is one thing. At the end of this session, I would like to share that you have to give more importance to social justice, political justice, and the economic justice. Triple justice should be shared to the people who are left out in the society as a whole. So, with these few aspects, I take this opportunity to